Welcome to r/Entitledparents, where a mother literally tries to murder her own daughter because she wasn't happy with her birthday present. When I was first married, money wasn't that easy to come by. I had a form of leukemia that took up most of our money. Due to this, we can't just spend money like we wanted to. God bless my husband for being such a sweetheart. We were only in our early 20s and he still pushed through this for us. December 23rd is my mother's birthday. She is an awful person. She tried to get me pregnant at 14 because she wanted more money from the state. That's an entirely different story I'll post on here if people ask. As this was 20 years ago, we didn't really have the same type of cell phones we have today. So I didn't know until I got home from treatment that my mom had called me multiple times. 3 minutes later, I counted, she shows up at the door. She asks for her money. Both of us are confused, of course. She wants her birthday money, which I've never given before to her. She wanted $608, that exact amount. When I told her no, we can't afford that, she lost it, screaming at me, calling me a prostitute and an entitled jerk. She gave birth to me, so I should do what she says. And then I say I'm an adult and I don't have to listen. I was angry and tired and I just threw up a few minutes ago. This set her off. She grabbed a kitchen knife and ran at me while my husband is trying to hold her back. She stabbed me right between two ribs but didn't pierce any organs, thank God. I don't know what happened in my husband's mind, but he snapped. He broke her arm backwards in rage while screaming something I don't even think was a human language. He called the police and she was arrested while I was taken to the hospital. Even more bills to pay, but surprisingly, that was taken care of by a domestic violence victims foundation. She got 7 years in prison. I moved out and moved to Louisiana. This morning, I got a call from my sister that my mother passed away last night. How she did, I don't know. Don't care. She took her entitlement and almost killed her own daughter because of it. There are two types of entitled parents. Type 1 is the one that we typically see on here. It's a stuck-up parent who thinks that their kid is the most precious thing on planet Earth and everyone should bend over backwards to get their kid stuff. The second type is this disgusting, abusive parent like the one in this story. I am so glad that OP got out of this situation because this is the definition of a toxic relationship. That being said, what do you think she wanted $608 for? Let me hear your best theory down in the comments. This happened a couple of weeks ago. It was the day of my grandmother's funeral. She died in a hospital and I was outside talking to the owner of the funeral company. This dude was also my godfather and I had a very good relationship with him. It might sound weird that my godfather is the owner of a funeral company, but to me it's not. He's known me since I was a baby and he treated me like I was his son. Also, to me, his job is just like any other job and it even has its benefits. Anyways, here we go. I was and still am 17. We were just outside the hospital talking to each other. Parked in front of us were all the company vehicles, including the one you are all thinking about. All of a sudden, Entitled Mom approached us. Hello? Hello. Entitled Mom had her kid just next to her and he was holding a drink. I was wondering if my son could take a ride on the limousine. She then pointed her finger to the hearse. I think it's called that in English. It took me a while to respond for two reasons. The first one was because that day I had so many thoughts going through my head and a stranger coming to me out of nowhere caught me by surprise. I am a very introverted person and I find it difficult to talk to people I don't know. The second reason was because I was holding my laugh. She legitimately thought that the hearse was a limousine. I'm sorry to say this, but that's not... Are you going to say no to a little child? At this point, I don't know what to say. Miss, believe me, you don't want your son to go in that thing. Ugh, why are you so stingy? Even if he spills his drink in the limousine, it won't be a problem. You have enough money to buy a limousine, so you'll surely have enough to clean it. This is when my godfather gets in. Excuse me, miss, what do you want to do? I want my son to ride the limousine. My godfather then said the most epic thing I have ever heard. My godfather thinks for a bit. Well, sure he can ride the limousine, but only if he has a coffin to be in. Entitled Mom is a bit confused about the response. She takes a good second look at the limousine and then she realized. I have no idea how she confused a hearse for a limousine. Perhaps the company logo was out of review or something. However, when she realized the mistake, her skin got pale and she just walked away as fast as she can with her kid. Me and Godfather just look at each other and start laughing. This is my first post on here and I hope this goes on rSlash because he's the best. Wait, that's me. I'm the best, you guys? Oh my gosh. So I was looking through this thread and I saw a lot of people saying they like rSlash. And on one hand, I'm really flattered that you guys are my fans and that you're promoting me on Reddit. But on the other hand, how dare you read entitled parent stories on Reddit? The only responsible way to consume Reddit content is to watch rSlash videos. If you read stories on Reddit instead of watching my videos, then you are literally stealing from me. I have every intention of reporting you to the authorities. When the FBI comes knocking on your door, tell them rSlash said hello. I'm going to do something a little bit different with today's Entitled Parents. I saw a post on Ask Reddit that had some responses that were so r/slash entitled parents, I had to add them on here. Admission officers and essay coaches of Reddit, what was the most pretentious application you've ever seen? I got to interview some students for a special program in my undergrad. It was highly competitive and lots of people wanted it. Young woman comes in. I offer her a seat. I'd prefer to stand. This won't take long. It won't? No, my dad is the dean of one of the colleges and my mom is one of the professors who established the program. I'm getting in. I emphasize that she really should take a seat. She refused again, so I say, hey, this interview, me approving you is part of the process. You have to do well in this to get in. You'll say I did well or my parents will make life heck for you. Her parents had zero impact on anything in my life and I told her as much. After articulating this to her, I said, I'm going to give you a chance to walk out the door and restart this interview. Fresh start. She lost it and yelled at me for like 5 minutes. I filled out the interview sheet with direct quotes from her tantrum. She didn't get in. A few days after decisions were made, I got an email from her father who was, in fact, a dean. He asked me to come in and have a chat with him. It was totally a request. I went to talk to him. When I went to see him, he had a copy of the interview sheet where I had several direct quotes from his daughter. Some of the quotes were awful and directed at me, my family, and basically everything she could hit on. He apologized profusely for his daughter and asked if she could redo the interview. He was leaning on me a bit at this point. I told him that choices had already been made and she was not selected. The whole thing was mind-blowing. She was so entitled. I feel like when the dean called the guy in and was like, hey, come in, let me talk to you about this, have a seat. OP should have been like, nah, I don't need to sit. This won't take long. I was a medical school interview coach, earning some extra money through med school. Some applicants were great. Others were what you'd expect from kids whose parents were paying a tutor to teach them how to act normal. Our med school interviews are easy to pass, but difficult to do well in. They involve generic questions like your passion or interests, ethical scenarios, decision-making questions, knowledge of healthcare topics, etc. There have been memorable answers to mock questions. In terms of pretentious, I asked one guy what his hobbies were, and he said that he loved Armani suits and buying expensive coffee blends. Not a great answer, but what killed it was that he began describing the smoothness of the bean and licking and smacking his lips together in wet squelching noises. Another applicant's dad was a successful surgeon, so he argued in his answers, I basically already know how to be a doctor through osmosis. He'd failed the entrance exam 7 times, and his dad opened a lot of doors for him, getting him research editor positions for his CV, etc. There were complex family dynamics. He would say really inappropriate things like, when I'm a doctor, I can buy and sell you and all your friends. All I have to do is pass this stupid exam and interview, and my dad will get me a spot in the training program. You'll be struggling for years. He then flipped to complaining for half an hour about how his sister gets treated like a princess and called me at 10 p.m. just to talk. I declined further sessions, but was pretty sympathetic, to be honest. Whenever his dad called to arrange sessions and materials, he was very pejorative towards his son. I had trouble hearing him during one of the phone calls because of background noise until he stepped outside. Later found out that he had been calling me, a tutor, during his son's graduation ceremony. He missed his son going on stage to receive his diploma because he was arranging a booking time with me. It placed a lot of his son's defensive behavior in context. And no, he has not been accepted into med school. That was 2 years ago, and he emailed me only a few weeks ago to request access to my Google Drive to brush up on some things. I granted it because when your answer to a conflict and teamwork question is, I tell them I'm sorry that they're wrong, no amount of Microsoft Word documents will change your performance. I really hope the part about licking a smooth bean and wet squelching noises doesn't get this video demonetized. I worked in a very religious private school's admission department for a few weeks, filing applications. The parents had to write a letter about their child and why the school would suit them. I'll always remember the man who wrote 3 pages about how successful a businessman he was, how he owned several businesses, how good he was at the school's main sport, and then attached a large check to the last page. Not a word about the kid. What I remember most, the rejection letter from the principal with a thinly veiled insinuation that bribery was immoral and not acceptable at the school. The letter simply said something along the lines of, let me in such and such hall named after my grandpa. He donated a butt ton of money, so this letter means nothing. He was right, got right in. Gotta love pay to play. And this is right after the college admission scandal. Bribing your way into college is wrong, but bizarrely, donating money your way into college is totally fine. Oh, I have one. A longtime friend's mother reviews applications at an elite college. I saw her recently and she was telling us about some of the essays. One was from a girl who clearly came from a background of great privilege. She described a day of shopping and dining at swanky places with her parents in the big city one day. At the end of the day, they came across a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk begging for money or food. She initially passed him by, but then, seeing the American flag flying on the corner up ahead on the next block, remembered what this great country of ours was built on, as well as what life is truly about, and went back to give this homeless person her restaurant leftovers. All described with much self-congratulation. I'm paraphrasing a lot of it, but the part in quotes is exact and will likely be repeated for some time to come, accompanied by chuckling by my friend and me. This country was built on, and life itself is about, giving a homeless person your half-eaten burger and fries. This girl is presumably 18 years old, and I cannot believe that after 18 years, this is the best story she has about how good of a person she is. Doesn't quite answer your question, but we recently had someone we had rejected for our most competitive course email us. He said that he regretted to inform us that he was unable to accept our rejection and would see us on the first day of the course very soon. Do reverse Uno cards work on rejection emails? A whole essay about how it had long been her dream to study at the prestigious University of Leicester, and all the incredible gifts life would bestow on her for living her dream, in an application for a university that was not Leicester. Obligatory not an admissions counselor, but I was a master's student who helped a family friend's high schooler edit her college admission essay. The prompt was something about the greatest struggle they've experienced that made them who they are. Her response, "My greatest struggle in life was that I was too academically advanced for my age and I was not challenged enough in school." Yikes. I used to tutor at university and helped occasionally with my tutees applications. One thing I always encouraged them to do was to mention their aspirations after graduating and to mention why specifically this university. One kid, who'd been a pretentious butthole the whole time, actually wrote in his essay that he didn't really care about the academic part because his dad was just going to give him a job when he graduated anyways. He chose the universities he was applying to based on how impressive they sounded and how good the party life was. I kept in touch with his sister. She was super smart and studied the same subject as me, so I helped her out with career advice later on. She dropped in a conversation later with a noticeable bit of glee that her brother was going through a challenging patch because his father informed him that no, daddy was not going to give him a free ride into a cushy job and did expect him to get a real job. Not an admissions officer, but I was part of an admissions committee when I served as faculty at a wonderful university. One admissions essay compared his act of applying to the law school with that of a Palestinian child facing oppression. The closing line was, "Bravery comes in many forms. A Palestinian child picking up a stone against illegal occupation, and me writing this essay. Both are comparable." Still haven't forgotten it. I saw an LSAT writing prompt that started with the line, "Hitler had a few good ideas." Really doesn't matter what you say after that. It also had absolutely nothing to do with the prompt. That was r/Entitledparents, and this is r/Puppy Bloopers. Hugo, you're chewing my Ethernet cable. I need that. I need that, babe. Come on. Hugo, no. Don't eat the internet. No. No eating the internet. You cute pupper. You cute puppy dog. You cute puppy dog.